We are live, people. So to anyone that's watching us, hey.
Hello.
Should we do some introductions?
Sure, let's do it.
I'll let you, man, because you are the host with the most, Steph.
Me, yeah. So I am. So my name is Stefan, or I think in this case it's going on your channel. So I would be Stefan in this case. I have a podcast channel over the Stephen Helhammer page, and we have started this new format here. I think Kesh is just calibrating the audio here. Yeah. So we started this new format here, which will eventually lead into a little course that we are working on in the background. But we are interviewing and talking to local talent, and in this case we've got Trevor from Platinum Entertainment. So I'll throw it over to you.
To you, Trevor, to you, Kesh.
For maybe if Trevor wants to introduce himself.
Yeah, sure. Who are you, Trev?
Hi, I'm Trev. I'm a producer and director of mainly musical theatre, but quite a lot of other bits and bobs as well. I'm a musician and performer, ex-performer. And I've been doing shows in Perth for about 20 years now, and back in the UK for about 15 before that.
Wow. That's right.
And then kind of before that, I was sort of involved in the local theatre scene and bits and bobs.
Yeah, and this is why I think you have a very interesting perspective. We're going to talk today about auditions, as the live stream mentions, but you have a super interesting perspective, not because we're going to talk more in a sec about how you've done high-end shows, but because you have been involved in the music scene too. You know, I've done a music show with you.
That's
the Astro.
Right.
So, you know, you're a musician, you're a singer, you have your scope is much wider than most producers that might just do one thing, you know, theater or something like that. So I think as we're going to now discuss our perspectives of auditions, you would have a lot of insights. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, I guess maybe for this, I'll mention I'm Keshet, goes by Kesh, and I worked with Trevor a bit in musical theatre, worked with Steph in many bands, and I produce videos as well. So we have a bit of every field here in this panel. That's it. All right, cool. So we want to talk about auditions, right? And, maybe we should we maybe get the ball rolling by talking about our biggest pet peeves in auditions? Because I'm sure all of us would have one. Like, I'll give you an example. My biggest pet peeve, or we can also think about this as red flags. Okay, so when I see someone that comes and doesn't matter how amazing they play or sing or whatever, but they done zero rehearsals, so they come either with a chart or lyrics or something like that, and they didn't take the effort to memorize whatever they need to do, I already take them with a grain of salt because I know, I mean, they have to really blow my mind then for me to consider them. They just immediately rank lower if they don't even do that basic step. And it doesn't matter if they had one day to prepare. You can memorize a song one day.
That's the point. How hard is it to memorize something?
Absolutely.
It's not, even if you got it that morning, you've got the car journey down, it's like, look, I only learned the first 30 seconds, but I do know the first 30 seconds, even that.
That's right.
So it's, but it's first impressions, isn't it?
It is.
First impressions. And perhaps what some people may not realize is that they're actually auditioning from the moment they walk into the building. Okay. It's not just about what's going on in the audition room. I don't want to use the word spies, but there's people out there and people talk, and there's people listening. There's the person on reception, sending signals into the.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's just about coming in with the proper preparation.
That's great.
That's my biggest peeve.
Yeah,
and I've noticed it more and more, and I suppose. In the society that we're in at the moment, where mediocre is celebrated, people think they can sort of get away with it. I'll just rock up and I don't know this one, but I know this one. And so prepare. I mean, I'm not overly sure about the music industry as such, but I know that in theatre, people usually they've had a month.
Wow.
They've usually been, and they know, and it's not like you can't access the material.
Yeah.
I mean, 30 years ago, it would have been difficult you'd have to go and buy a recording but now you can just press a button and get the information instantly on your phone. So there's no reason for you not to prepare for the audition. I don't think so anyway. You might not be able to, maybe it said learn 2 songs or whatever, or learn this. Maybe you just did the one, but at least you've done that.
And that's right. And even though it would probably never say we expect you to be off book, we do expect you to be off book. Like there's this expectation because it just shows your work ethic. If you don't realize on your own that the right thing to do is to do that, that then means that once you're in the production, you would never think outside the box on how I can do extra to help. So it's like just this very basic check that you would expect everyone to just have the sensibility to do that. But it's astounding because, people get nervous and they get preoccupied with thinking about how can they, characterize the role or whatever, but they forget the basic things. So first get the basics right. And then anything you do extra will immediately see you in a much better light. Because the moment we see you like that, and actually going back to another thing you said with how they walk in, that is so true. And probably a great example for the music scene, but you probably would have a similar story from theater scene, is let's say there's a guitarist that auditioned to a band. If that guitarist, instead of rocking up, just come with, with his guitar, plug in, let's do it. If instead it's like, he's got like 5 gig bags, and it's like, I forgot something in the car, and he goes back and he starts with all that fuss, you immediately spoil your audition, right? Because it just feels like this guy's going to be a handful. You want to bring confidence, and you want to bring as if you're not going to make it harder for them.
Yeah. And
so to see all that back and forth like that, it's hard. And even when I was in auditioning people for bands, or if I was in audition, what you said about reception is even true in bands, because in the rehearsal rooms, usually you have a guy in the reception, and always after that, we would have debrief with that guy. Like, how were they outside? Were like they chain smoking? Were they like just swaying all the time? We want to get insight about the personality that we wouldn't get when they're just trying to have their best conduct. So how were they really? Were they like dogging other people that are waiting, or were they courteous to them? So I think that's very true. And you would probably have a similar story, I know, about people putting stuff on tables.
Yeah. Actually, one of my biggest pet peeves is I've got even in rehearsals, but the auditions is you've got there, hours before, and you've set up and yada yada yada, and you've got your little space, and people walk in, dump their stuff in your space. There's and it's like. Yeah. Come in and put your stuff at the door, or don't even bring it in. You shouldn't need anything. Maybe you just hand your CV over. But it's different. In the theatre, if you're auditioning to be in a show, usually the first round of auditions is just a callback. So all you need to do is, we're going to the positives now, I suppose. Yeah. All you need to do is just impress the panel enough to get into the callback pile, as it were.
Absolutely.
And nothing you say, and this is a strong bit of advice, nothing you say is going to help you get in. It's what you do at your audition. Nothing you say at all. In fact, it can only make things worse. So come in, don't ask questions, do what the panel asks of you, and go and get in the callback. When you get to the callback stage, things are a little bit more relaxed, and
Yeah.
So there's a little tip for people.
But I think overall, it really comes down to attitude. Like, just put on a good attitude. Like, it's a
can-do attitude.
Exactly. And I say this all the time, but like how much do you want it? Like, is it important for you to get that role? Or because if you come in, like I said, you could be the best performer for that role, but if you come in with a shit attitude and unprepared and stuff, just expect that because you are who you are, you're going to get the part. I think, in my opinion, I would much rather work with someone who comes prepared, who might be, second or third or fourth on the list, but they're great to hang with. They're good, have a professional attitude, and they show up on time. They are organized and stuff.
You want them in the company.
Exactly.
I would bend over backwards to get someone in the company, that I want in. Even if they're not quite right for that role or whatever. And it's the same with the band. If you like the guy.
That's right.
Or girl, or
because you can lift them up there.
I want you in. You can come in. Another little tip for an audition, especially a mass audition. It might be different with music, but if say there's an big ensemble audition, is wear something that people are going to remember you by. Or the guy with the red shoes, or with
the peacock effect.
Bone in.
That's a good way to put it.
Peacock
I love
effect.
it.
Because it is. Because sometimes I know. They say, it's not personal, but it's very personal. Sometimes you just get given a number and thank you, number 43, and it's horrible. I don't like to do that as such. And also the people you're auditioning for them. This is the first time they've seen you as well.
Right.
So there's that element. But you try and make it as slick and as professional as possible. But if you've got red socks on or something, when you're talking afterwards, the one with the red socks.
yeah, absolutely.
Because
you remember that better than names when you get exposed to so many people.
Sometimes, yeah. And I knew a dancer in the UK that was taught just get down the front and in the middle. No point in hiding up the back. When you're doing these big when you're doing the ensemble auditions and group auditions, it's
as long as you're not rude about it. We don't want to see you elbowing anyone.
No. But some people come in and sort of hang up the back, and and it's like,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I've got two little stories about an example of what not to do and what yes to do in terms of that type of attitude that we're talking about. One was I auditioned one time a drummer for an original project. And then I came, in the audition, he came and he started playing a song and he played a completely different beat on the song. Now, in his mind, he thought, I'm going to show value because I'm showing how I can add my own spin to the song. But for me, as the composer, it was almost offensive because it was like, why are you changing the music? You're not even part of the band yet.
Yeah.
It's an audition. I want to know if you're the right guy to play my music. And instead of showing me that you've learned the music, you just jammed whatever you wanted. So either you didn't listen to the music and you don't know how it goes and you're winging it, or you decide to change it on your own without even asking permission, or you know what I mean? So he immediately was out because of that. And it could be that his intention was like to impress me with how he jazzed it up. But he completely missed the fact that if it was after the audition, once he was already in the band, then he comes to rehearsal and go, hey, check this out. Then that would have been inspiring.
Yeah.
But this way, I don't know you yet. So don't start by changing. It's like I've seen this in musical theater auditions too, where singers would come and they would jazz up the melody and all sorts of trills and stuff. And I would just go and think, I really need to now have a callback to understand, can they just sing it as written? Or I don't understand, are they ad-libbing? Because you don't know if they didn't learn the song or what's the goal. But a different example of what yes to do is that we've had a singer, this is in musical theater, one of the auditions we shared together for the demons. So, okay? What?
Yeah.
So the brief was to learn a chorus from a song. And someone came and did an outstanding audition, sang it. And then we went through. So we asked, can you actually sing the rest of the song? That wasn't part of the learning requirements. So we just want to know. And luckily for her, she did. She just, went ahead and learned everything. So it wasn't a case of coming and offering stuff. She just came overly prepared. And that gives you so much more check marks because it's like if you can see they went the extra mile in learning the song.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that that really makes a difference. And the same thing with bands. If you come and you know more than the songs they've asked you, and you don't need to flaunt it, but just in case they ask, that's the best.
Yep.
Yeah, which may be at the first round, or it could be at the second round. And usually, the second round there's a lot more to have learned.
Yes.
Sometimes especially in musical theatre, and someone can do an audition and after 30 seconds that you want them in, so you can get cut short early. That doesn't mean you're not in. It's not like they're in the callback pile, quick go, well, we definitely want you back, we'll see you later type thing. So you never know as well. You short audition, long audition. There was recently, I think, and this is an interesting one. When you're auditioning for a show and you put down, this part, tick a box or whatever, and some people just tick everything and they haven't researched and they haven't looked, and you're like, well, you're not right for that. And you're not right for that. I mean, how can you be right for all those
you can't
parts?
sing bass and soprano.
Whatever it is. Yeah. But they don't research. They just tick everything because they think that they're hedging their bets. If I don't get that one, but just, tick one or on whatever it is. But, there was a particular instance, a girl came in and she was going for 5 parts and she had all the music for all the parts and this, and it was like, well, yeah, and she just sung one and we said thank you, but I think she got a bit peeved that she didn't get a chance to sing us all 5 parts that she was going for. Well, no, you're not going to. We just need to hear one thing for now. For the first thing, come in and impress us with your red socks on or your purple bow in the hair, whatever it is. Do your thing. Thanks very much. Bye.
Yeah, especially if you have a lot of people to screen. They got to be mindful of that.
Could imagine that would be daunting having to just have a long line of people.
It is. I mean, at the level we do things in Perth, it's not crazy, but obviously out there in the world, they're literally are lines around the corner.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Those big dance calls that some of the musicals have.
All the big reality shows as well. Like when
And they're in the line.
Yeah.
And they're listening to people's stories and picking them out. I mean, and look, I don't want to say anything, but I hear that the psychics have spies in the lines as well for their shows. Finding out information about. Fred's grandma. Anyway, so but it's here in the Log Perth. We don't have masses, but there's still a lot of people to get through, and you want to put as many people in as possible.
Of course,
we've done some quite big, crazy things with our shows where we've had a choir and a big community choir and a big chorus on that, and given everyone opportunity, especially when we're at the Quarry Amphitheatre. There's a load of room, but sometimes there isn't room. You can't put everyone in. It's just maybe those red socks are the ones that you're going to get in, get you that call back and get remembered, be remembered.
Visuals.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely. I might rattle some feathers. I'm gonna drop a truth bomb that we talk about stuff like that off camera, not many times on camera, but I think I'm fine in doing that, and I'm happy, to answer to anyone that would disagree with me. But I know there's actually, I've lived in England, in Israel, and in Perth. I've traveled in other places, but these are the 3 places that I got to live. And in all 3 of them, I've seen this attitude where if you come from the biggest music school or musical theater school, whatever, there's a bit of, for lack of a better word, there's almost like a bit of snobism attached to that because you're a graduate. But I must say that before Perth, I've never... So sometimes it comes down to maybe there's some people that comes out with an attitude out of it. Sometimes it's also the people that didn't go to the school, maybe a bit jealous. You know what I mean? So they start to have those barriers like, oh, he's from, Juilliard or whatever, then it's too snobby. I don't want him in my band. But in Perth, it's the first time where I just see it so regularly an attitude. It's not even snobism. It's more about lack of understanding of what actually happens in the real world as opposed to the amazing shows they get to do in the school, right? That have everything in front of them. Imagine that. Just relating this maybe, to our world for music, imagine that you would think that in every gig you're going to play, you have backline supplied, 50 tube amps, a dedicated sound engineer with headphone mix, and then you go out and you expect to get it in every pub gig and stuff, and you just go, whoa, what? That's not how the world operates. And the more I see it in other industries, like working with from, set design, like stuff that I didn't even think that would get an attitude necessarily, because it's not even performers, right? So set designers or costumes. I've seen people from all those fields coming from prestigious schools, and they have that same sort of disconnect. And sort of you need almost to retrain them. And I wish that that there would be like a course in those schools to actually get them ready for the real world. So I feel like it's something that we see in band auditions with people that are out of touch, and definitely musical theater. And they can be talented, they can even have great personalities, but it's that out of touchness that they need to be aware of, and they need to sort of reconcile.
So it's a good point, and very subtly put, Kesh.
Yeah, I was trying to be diplomatic.
Very diplomatic. But the thing is, you have to be trained to be able to do it at the highest level. That's obviously the courses, and that. Yeah, we want to train everyone so they can perform at the highest level. But what's not happening is it's the expectation when you come out is that you're going to get that high level job.
That's right.
I've got pilot's license, plane flight, and I started to do a bit of my commercial. I actually did a couple of airline pilot license.
Didn't know that.
Just a couple of the exams, while I was doing it. But the point is, I can learn to fly a plane, but they're not going to give me a 747, are they? I've got to work my way up to it. And more, same with helicopter pilots. You can fly a helicopter, but they're not going to give you a $5 million craft. So it's the same in the industry. It's like they're coming out expecting, or not even. They don't even know how to do things down at the grassroots level.
That's right.
Because they've been trained to. there's this hierarchy and systems and stuff like that, and you go, well, there you go. I need you to do that, and they don't know because they've always had someone else to do it for them because it.
I think it's like that in most industries, because again, you can do the same. You can study to become a surgeon and stuff. Obviously, by the time you or a doctor or a lawyer or whatever it is, as soon as you come out, you're not going to get the top cases and the top operations most of the time. You need to be humble about it. You need to go out with the attitude that this is what I want to do. I want to get really good at it, so I want to study. I want to look at what the guys that are better than me, how are they doing it? Like how do they go about it? How do they conduct themselves? And learn from there. It doesn't matter what field you're in, really. I think it's probably even in life in general. Like just again, this is coming back to. I remember my mom said this to me when I was a kid. Like just treat others how you want to be treated. And I think if you go in to any audition, anything you do in life with that attitude, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Because if you were sitting on the other side of the fence and you had someone coming in that was completely unprepared, you wouldn't hire that person either. And if you apply that to yourself, look in the mirror in the morning and saying, look, I'm going to go and I'm going to get this role because I know I'm good at it. I'm going to go in. I'm going to give them my best shot. I want this so bad that I'm going to study. I'm going to study as best as I possibly can. Whether it's I've got that call in the morning and I have to learn it while I drive there, that's a valid excuse. You might not come in and nail it, but they would understand that too, that you've tried as much as you could for half an hour.
Yeah.
If you got a month, there is no excuse.
No,
there is zero excuses. If you want it,
we hear a lot of excuses. You'll be surprised.
Yeah.
We've all done
I feel like I should write a book about
it.
Yeah, I mean, I realise there's nerves play a big part.
Yeah.
As well. So
we
get that. So
that's a valid excuse.
Try and relax people. Yeah. But don't say, "Oh, I've got a sore throat." We can see you've got a sore throat. It's obvious. Okay, you've got a sore throat today. Yeah, just sort of do that preparation. There's even, there's usually auditions go for a long time. So maybe something happened. Maybe you didn't find out till the night before and you've got a 10 o'clock slot. If you come in and you're honest and go, look, guys, could you mind if I come back in a couple of hours? I need to go and sit in the car. And
that would be very impressive, right?
And then you go, no worries, go and do it.
Who can't be honest? You're honest about it. You know what I mean?
That's right.
That's what you want to do.
It's the attitude.
Yeah.
You have that attitude that I really, really, is it possible? Can I come back in an hour? I'll go out and I'll just dial into it. I've had whatever it was. It was a bad night. And I got told this the day before I had to come in or whatever.
My agent only told me yesterday.
Whatever,
Which may be the case. He just found out about it late. But I still, it's hard for people to make a decision just based on someone that isn't prepared. It's like, shall we? What would they? Yeah. But they, like you say, they can be the most talented and you want them in the company, but they're not quite ready and they could be this kind of bit of a whirlwind train wreck.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with the case of this, the way that they're being trained here, two things that could probably benefit is either to go at a later age, because a lot of people just go out of high school into WOPA or wherever they train. And they don't have that real life experience. If they actually, I've got students, and some of them are adults, some of them are young, but I always feel more prone to when a student asks me, should I go to WOPA and stuff like that? If they're already, 25 or whatever, I go, because you already got your personality. They can't change you. Now you can go there and just learn more tools and become even better. Sometimes when you go into questionable age, that's when, unfortunately, you can, because it's just going to be a few good years where you're being drilled that you're the best and you're learning all the tools and you lose the sense of reality. This is what you got to. The other thing they should do is, rather than telling students, you can only perform within our programs while you're in the school, it should be the opposite. Drive them while you're in the school to go do gigs outside, because then they can go back to the lectures with so many questions about this happened and that happened. How can I do it better? You know what I mean? So they're losing the real life applications because they're stuck in that box for, I don't know how long it takes to complete a course, 3 years or, so.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure I agree with you on that, Kesh, because the issue is, especially in the performing arts, is that these people need, they're being trained to do it one way. And if they do go out while they're training, they're going to be,
they're going to be training in a different way.
Yeah. If they get involved in other stuff.
They're going to be other guys that are going to tell them to do it in a different way.
And look, performing arts courses and maybe even music courses, there's quite a lot of contact hours and there's a lot going on. So if the student, and they've got to work as well. So I think they're discouraged from it. I mean, I know it's sort of, it's happened. I think it happened quite a few years ago. There was people, and the students can get exploited and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's a way of protecting them. But I know what you mean about real world experiences. You know, I mean, the best thing to do is to if you want to learn, is to jump in a minibus and tour around England with 6 actors and a stage manager, and that'll teach you how to, because there's those number 2 tours or grade B tours and things like that. There's, you know, and that it's about expanding your skill set, which is what I wanted to sort of mention, is the fact that, there's the backstage crew, but even the cast, you know, do you know how to sew a button on? Because it might not get you your first job, but it might get you the next job. That's right. Because you've got another skill set as well, you know. And, you know, I encourage our performers, you know, our kids, I run the Perth Youth Theatre as well, which is a lot of kids stuff. And we encourage them to learn to do other things. And, no one cares, you know, if you're, when you first audition, but once people get to know you, if you, I can play the saxophone as well, or I can do this, you just don't know. It's not all about flying the 747, is it? It's not all about, it's about being part of a company, and where else are you useful, and keeping to stay employed by that company. Yeah. That's 100% you know, true. So, you know, I would probably say try and expand. You know, I've been a sponge all my life, just learning. Yeah. You know, I'm lighting, and I do some sound and some other stuff. You know, so, and I think that, you know, artists, they've got a talent, but they can learn other stuff as well, and they should, and know and understand. It'll make you a better performer as well. Absolutely, because you've got an understanding of what you understand, like more assets or more aspects within the company. It's the same as if you're building a house and you understand. Look, you might be a bricklayer, but you also know how they come in and put up the roof and how they install the windows and stuff. By the time you understand all of it, like everything sort of has this sort of cohesive movement, like you understand how all departments work and how they think. I think that's a really vital aspect of it as well. You understand what's going on in the other avenues within the business. Well, especially if your dream or end goal is eventually to get to the place of being a director or a producer in musical theatre, or the band leader or whatever. That's so essential. You need to understand how all the department works, even if you can't do it all. At least have an understanding. Absolutely. Yeah. That's right. And when I was really young, like, you know, starting bands, that's what I would do. I would just pick the brains of everyone, from the drummer to the sound engineer in the venue. I was just naturally curious. And that's how I started developing more skill sets, because I wasn't even ambitious. Like, I'm still not ambitious to play the drums. But nowadays I can ride drums better than most because I just had enough conversations to understand how they work. You know, so it's just about understanding. Yeah, you don't want to be flying blind when you do that kind of production, you know. So, and even communication, it's so much easier to be in bands and communicate when I understand your lingo, you know, and I know this is called a flam, you know, instead of can you go up the stick a beat later, or, you know. Well, on that note, didn't what Babaloo Bapa, what Mum Boom? What's that? Power. Tutti Frutti. Jerry Lewis? Yeah. That's Richard, Little Richard. Didn't he apparently he said to his drummer, I want you to start this song and just do a little fill and just go, I don't know, a what Babaloo Bapa, what Bam Boom. Oh, that's amazing. Really? Yeah, and that's how that. That's cool. I didn't know that. Yeah, there you go. Useless information, but apparently that's how it in the recording studio. That's right. A what Babaloo Bapa, a what Bamboo. Yeah. I love that story. That's great. That's cool. Yeah, so I guess sometimes it yields good stuff. You don't know. That's also cool, because that's how you just verbally sort of try and dissect like a tom feel or whatever it is. Yeah. Like, that's cool. It's the same as like Keshet Kesh. Can you play like? So exactly, yeah. Can you do a but no, it is important to learn as much lingo as possible, just to have an understanding of it. Yeah, and you know, it builds perspective, which, as we spoke off camera, you know, is kind of lacking at the moment. It's the tunnel vision. Yeah, have perspective and think about the audition panel that have been there since 9 o'clock in the morning and you're rocking up at 5.
Yeah, that's right. Because there's fatigue that comes with.
Think about even in the rehearsal room, you just rock up, but there's other people who've been there for an hour. At a gig or whatever, just have a bit of perspective and a bit of understanding of what's going on in the background.
Gives you more integrity as well.
And it could be that you are genuinely a thoughtful person, but just because you're uneducated about what those departments do, you don't realize that you're being unthoughtful. Because you don't realize that every time you drop, then you have to dry clean that item, or you know what I mean. Like you just don't realize what happens after you leave the venue and the kind of work that goes in. So, and again, bands, it's just being courteous to the sound guy at the venue, or, basic stuff that sometimes they won't realize that, man, they've been here like 3 hours before you, lugging heavy gear, building, the PA system, and you don't even realize, and you just go, I can't hear myself in the monitor.
Yeah.
And you're not really rude. You're anxious because you want to perform, but you don't realize that you didn't just now tell him about that. You also now sort of wavered all the hard work they've done before that and didn't acknowledge that. So once you understand what happens, it just helps you to become more switched on. And then you also build better relationships, better networking. So it pays itself back tenfold. Yeah.
If you're good at people skills, if you've got people skills, like you said, if you can communicate with people, that is, it can get you so much further than talent almost.
That's right.
You got a message then, or was that something?
No, Melissa agrees. She liked the truth bomb about the higher education centers.
Good stuff.
So, yeah. No, we've had, I think 6 viewers, so yeah. Well, that's not bad for a Thursday at 12.
That's it. Well,
most people are at work.
By the time we've edited this and put it out, then it's after 2 hours.
Oh, yeah, wait till they'll see the real footage. Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much my little 2 cents on the auditions. Do you guys have anything you'd like to add?
Lots of auditions. Well, again, like you two have way more experience in auditions. Like I haven't. It's been many years ago since I was actually in theatre. I did a bit of theatre back in high school and stuff, but other than that, I've mainly just stuck to the playing. Yeah. And the only auditions I've done really has been, with a couple of cover bands while I've been here. I'm filling in for another band and coming up here in October. But you guys would have done far more auditions than me, so it's like your words would weigh a lot heavier.
No, but think about all the bands that you're in contact with. If you have any wisdom you want to part on them, it's always about the red flags in the auditions, right? Because you know how awful it is to accept someone into a band and 2 months down the track just go, man, I should have seen it already from the audition. He was shifty or they were shifty or whatever. Well, so there's ways that you can pay attention to that.
Well, I suppose if you are in a band, I suppose you could probably do that in a theater production, but probably not as easily. Is the fact it's like everyone is replaceable. So if you do hire the wrong person, and you find out 2 months down the track that he or she is completely unreliable, or they're on drugs, or completely dropkick, or are doing something that does not fit in with the integrity of what the band or the business wants, then you replace them. It's as simple as that.
It isn't though now, is it?
No, it's not. So obviously, the main obstacle with it, obviously, it's very time consuming because again, you have to go through the same stages again. You have to replace. You have to train them. If it's an employee in your business, you still need to make sure that they fit in and they can take up that gap that you have there. But bottom line is, if that person is dragging the rest of the band down by not showing up, by not being on time and stuff like that, then you have no other choice. It's just a matter of how quick you can make that call and get a new replacement in. Because I've seen that a lot when I've had bands in for a chat. It's so easy to see. You can see that 3 out of the 4 are switched on. They all want this, but then you have one person who wants something completely different. Yeah. Well, then that's what you're going to end up with. You're going to end up with the weakest link one, because that's going to set the bar. And until you can get everybody calibrated to be on the same page, you're going to be stuck with whatever the lowest denominator wants.
But that's about, like in the band situation.
In the band situation,
everyone sitting down and working that out, having that conversation.
Yeah. But not everybody's comfortable doing that.
No,
because it's some hard questions that has to come.
I was in the barbershop singing world for a while, which is great because they're super serious about what they do and super dedicated, and you're not even allowed on the risers at rehearsals with your music in front of you. You're expected to have learned it before rehearsal, which is great. It's brilliant. I forgot what my train of thought was. Oh yeah, so that was in a chorus, singing in a chorus. But obviously there's quartets that form, and in the training they talk about if you're going to do a quartet, sit down as a group of four and talk about what you want and what your goals are, and that should be the same with the band because you'll.
Or with any partnership in general.
Oh yeah.
So because that's again like a band is like it's literally you're 3, 4, 5 partners really. You got to be on the same page.
That's in a band that works. Theatre's a dictatorship.
Absolutely, it's very different.
As such,
like you need someone to steer the ship.
Yeah. I mean, you can change or drive the bus. You can change the bus driver. You're driving now, and you're driving now.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends, of course, on how long you've got to put the thing on in the first place.
Absolutely.
If we've got a gig on Friday night, no, we need to get on and do this, and this. But if it's in 2 years' time, then we're just going to sit down and work out some stuff and spend some time in the studio or rehearsal room or whatever. That's different. So if there's a time constraint, then I think that dictates how rehearsals run, how things are going to work. But usually there's a man with a plan somewhere. Usually there's someone with an expression.
So again, if you do want to go somewhere, if you do want to progress, whether you are a small business or a band or whatever, like you need someone who has that responsibility to steer in the right direction, and has the vision in place for you to go from A to B or A to E and F and G and so on. But all of that again doesn't come natural. Like it's something like a lot of time, like you need to study and you need to want it to begin with. Like you got to understand where you want to go. Because to a lot of people, they might be more than happy playing in a local stage show or a local band or, playing on the local footy team, you know what I mean? Like, and just play on Saturdays down in the local park. Other might want to be, I think we were talking about that too, being a soccer player for Manchester United and make $1 million a week, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, but if that's your ambition, you need to put in a lot of time, a lot of training and attitude, man.
But even if you're working down at the local footy team, you still want to win, don't you? You still play to win.
Absolutely.
And I feel, we're getting into different ground now. No, but maybe, one of the issues is that sometimes people don't play to win. Again, back to mediocrity has been celebrated. Yeah. Why? If you're charging people to come and see you prance around on the stage, as my dad used to say or whatever. If you're charging people to do that, I feel, be it a musician or whatever, I feel you owe them the best that you can do, and maybe, and that's not just you, that's up to the producers as well, production value and this, that and the other. It needs to be the best it possibly can be. And sometimes it isn't because, I rocked up. Yeah. Where's my badge or medal for rocking up? Participation. Yeah. So, you got to work hard.
Yes, absolutely.
Really, really, really hard.
Yeah.
It just, and like we say, diversify, learn all those skills, especially if this is going out to people that are sort of more business minded as well, or want to do it as a business, then diversify, have a few strings to your bow. And, as Kesh has, he's a guitarist, but a composer and a videographer and,
he's an exception to the rule in so many ways.
Yeah, but then you're like me, you're a sponge. You want to learn all these different things. Yeah, some of the things I've learned over the years have been out of necessity. Yeah. I've been let down, so I've had to learn it or whatever.
Yeah. That's the best way sometimes.
And other times, it's just a case of, look, I want to understand more about this side of the business or this side of the industry. So I'm going to go and do a 6-month course, or I'm going to just like you said, talk to that guy, talk to the drummer.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely.
You know, so,
But I mean, it's, I guess, especially for people that might be watching this that are local to Perth, it's a very important thing about the mindset, because you got to find the hunger. If you're just feeling, hey, I'm already making money from the pub gigs and I've got a day job or not, or even the gigs pay enough for my bills, and you're content with that, you're going to stay there. It will never change.
No.
You can talk to anyone, you can talk to the drummer, learn all that. You would still stay there. You got to find the motivation. So for a lot of immigrants that come here like myself, you're also from Europe, you know, you grow up in an economy and stuff that is not as secure. And if you decide to be a musician, it's do or die, right? Because there's no way to make money out of music. You have to be exceptional in everything you do. And the same thing with theater and other scenes that just don't have as paid opportunities as we have here in Perth. Because here, you know, you can learn a few chords and go to a cafe and make $200 a night, you know, so you don't need to work hard to make some money out of it.
Right,
but if you want a career, if you want to be like, if you're an actor, your dream is Hollywood, not Perth, then you got to change the game. You know, you gotta always feel as if, you know, as if it's do or die. You just gotta fight for it. That's what I would love to see even more people in Perth do, you know, to find a way to get that drive and ambition. Because that would change anything. Then you will, you know, memorize 3 songs extra before an audition, and you'll do all that stuff,
right,
bend over backwards for the chance of going to the next level in the ladder. So even if, you know, if you feel like, oh yeah, but it's still Perth, it doesn't matter. If you go to the next level now, then you're on the next level, and then from there you might have new opportunities to go.
You don't know who's watching. You never know who's watching you. You never know who you're going to meet in the audience or in the audition corridor.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I feel that that's one of the biggest takeaways hopefully Perth viewers can take, because I feel like a lot of them are talented and they don't understand why don't they go big, but they don't understand it's because they don't have their drive, and you can just see it in the way that they conduct themselves off stage. On stage, they're phenomenal. You know, we know some people that you just go, how are you not famous? But then we also know why they're not famous. It's because of that, because they're just content with what they're doing, and they're not. How do they say? They say the definition of insanity is to do the same thing and expecting different results. And that's what they're doing, right? Because they just keep doing the same gigs and the same type of stuff, working with the same booking agents and whatever, and they just think one day someone would come discover them and they'll be big. It doesn't work that way. We talked about this many times. That's a business model that existed 30 years ago, but there's no scout. There's no such thing anymore. It's all, you just got to get to bigger and better productions. Or if you're a musician, do viral stuff on the internet. So it's a different ball game, and they need to adapt to that. They can't think of that Cinderella story that they'll just do a pub gig and there'll be an R-man in the audience and they'll get signed to a label, because there aren't any.
No, well, especially in you know, since COVID hit. Things are different. Things are weird. You know, we've had phenomenal success with what we've done. So there is success, and there's some good stuff happening in Perth as well. You know, it's not just about getting to Hollywood. Well, maybe, it is. I don't know. But, you know, does Hollywood still exist? Are they still making movies? I don't know. What are they doing?
I actually don't know either.
I don't know. Yeah. There's some good Netflix stuff out again.
Yeah. But you see, they adapted because they just started releasing movies on Disney Plus instead of in the cinema. Both in the case of Scarlett Johansson.
So there is that, like you say, there's that contentment, but you can still work here and you can still be the best at what you do.
Yeah.
You know, by putting that extra effort in.
But again,
why not be the best?
That's right.
But again, to some people, that might be what they're dreaming of. Like they're quite happy to have whatever day job they have and have this as a hobby. And then that's beautiful. You know, you made it.
That's
you know
cool.
what I mean?
If they're
you know
happy.
What I mean?
But again, if it's a hobby, that's fine. It's brilliant. It's a hobby. And for a lot of people in Perth, it can only be because there's just not the work there. But you can still be the best.
Oh, for sure.
For
sure. Right? You can still want to win when you go and play soccer.
Absolutely. You compare it to it. You want to win.
Absolutely.
You know, you play.
When you go on stage, you still want to rock out and make sure you come prepared and the guitar's tuned and everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember when we started bands, you know, and we would sometimes have discussions, what's your ambition, you know, so we would laugh and say world domination. But, you know, it's shooting to the stars that way that gets you at least closer. You know what I mean? Like I would love to have a successful musical under my belt that I wrote, but deep down inside, the real ambition is to become a household name, you know, like the next Andrew Lloyd Webber or something like that. Now, it might never happen, but because I've got that drive, I'm not going to stop. And even if I have a hit with a musical, I won't feel as if I'm accomplished yet. I'm just going to keep doing it, you know, till I get as close as I can in my lifetime to my ambition. That's what you need. So that's what I'm saying about the hunger. You don't actually have to be in a financial turmoil and like a struggling artist to be hungry. You just got to have a dream and allow that to feed your drive.
Yeah, they say that if you to be happy, you need a 5-year plan. You need where do you want to be in 5 years? Now that plan can change.
Yeah,
it can change tomorrow. It can change hourly. But if you've got a 5-year goal, you'll be happy and content. So that's
you feel that you're.
Where do you want to be? What do you want to be doing in 5 years?
Something to work towards.
Yeah. Do you still want to be, you know, doing these podcasts in 5 years?
Oh,
yeah, we do.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Talking to Tom Cruise.
What's my 5-year plan?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I think if you ask people that, people won't know. You know, they might laugh and joke and say, "Oh, I want to be, you know, on a Caribbean island or something." But yeah, they haven't really got. People don't have a plan. We just plod along, don't we? In the system, in the rat race.
Yeah.
You know, doing our gigs on a Friday and Saturday night, and so yeah,
that's right.
Only you can change it.
Yeah. Good. That feels like a good summary sentence. Only you can change it. Take that home, guys. Yeah, cool. All right, cool. I feel like we covered all of ground.
Yeah.
And Trevor, thank you so much for taking the time.
It's great. Yeah,
we really appreciate it.
That was awesome.
I feel that we're going to release this in better quality in the future, so a lot of people can get some advice out of this, and hopefully it would inspire them to better audio as well.
Better audio,
stereophonic audio. Hey. We'll know where each one of us is in the room. So that's it. We're going to sign off.
Fantastic.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.